motor car. Undoubtedly the glamour symbol of the 60s. Grand Prix and glossy brochures, James Clark and even James Bond. We all dream of owning one, and when we do own one, we all dream of owning a better one. This is where it begins. Just 50 minutes ago, this car, somebody's particular hope realised, was a mere empty shell. Dreams come by conveyor belt these days. But if automation has made the automobile more available to us, the moving track and the paraphernalia of power screwdrivers and power tools, what has it done to the men who are its accessories? Just how much glamour is there in their lives?
I think today, that the average young man today, he wastes his time in factories because it's boredom. It's complete boredom.
I don't think there's any better jobs about in the Midlands unless you want to go in for a trade, and I don't think the money's in the game like it was years past. I mean, father had it rough up Newcastle, and well, I say the money's in the car trade. That's where you got to go, where the money is.
The unions run the factories. Well, that's it. If you're not in the union, you just don't get a job. You just don't get past the gate.
In the factory, you can get a job that's very, very boring, you know what I mean? It's really, you can push buttons all day and you can get very, very good money in there. I'm not disputing that fact. But if you work in the office, I mean, you do get a bit of a change and it is a bit more varied. The work is more varied. The money's not so good, but it's more varied,
Well, you're coming in the morning. You know what you've got to do, and you just do it. It's the same thing over and over again, day in, day out. You get that used to it, you can do it blindfolded.
I think we've really broken down all the operations which the assemblyman has to do into quite small pieces, and a certain amount of repetition work involved with him. It isn't the sort of job that perhaps I personally would like to do. I'd probably find it a bit boring. I've no doubt he does too.
When you think of the factories, they are large in the main. They are very well lit, they're well ventilated, they are kept at good temperatures, so working conditions are broadly good.
When we're talking about the stoppages, the unofficial stoppages, which the press are prone to give so much publicity to, I think perhaps it's forgotten at times that there are literally thousands of grievances we might have which are resolved without any sort of publicity at all. Now, the monotony of the job might have some impact. Certain human emotions, because we are talking about human beings and not machine tools, human emotions come into play, and that creates a sort of a blowout. Frustration can play its part in this sort of activity. So, whilst perhaps it would be true to say that the boredom of the job might, on occasions, and where a sort of a stoppage might even act as a relief valve, there are quite other parts which have equal bearing.
Lots of people have said to me, this is a soul-destroying job that I'm doing. It takes the sharp edge off my mind. When I go home, I feel that the sharp edge is off my mind, and all I want to do is the same thing all over again, i.e. look at the telly.
A clergyman, a doctor, a trade unionist, a boss, all say the same thing about the Coventry car worker. His job is a boring one, and the only compensation for the lack of any satisfaction in it is money, big money. Anything up to £35 a week for 40 hours work and overtime. It was the promise of better money which brought George Jordan to Coventry from the Newcastle pits 30 years ago. Now, at 59, with the souvenirs of a comfortable family life around him, Jordan, his wife and their two sons, Ray and George, have the kind of home which only good motor wages can provide.
Well, my ambition was when I first come here, we hadn't got any family, and to get a house for our own family. Now I've got two sons, I'm quite happy with them. We've got a good family.
How far have you achieved your ambitions in life then now?
Well, I've got everything I want now. We're quite comfortable and happy.
Is there anything you'd like to change if you could go back?
Would I like to change? There's nothing really I would like to change. I've always gone out and enjoyed myself and had a happy life.
Mrs. Jordan, why do you think so many housewives like yourself go out to work?
Well, the majority of them, their families are grown up. And I mean, they get the couple of hours, they finish their work. And they do get bored, and of course there's the extra money.
What do they want the extra money for?
Well, the majority, they save it. They put it in the bank for when they get older. I mean, they don't know what... Some of them, their husbands is in the Leeds. And I mean, it's always handy to have a pound or two behind you.
You've been in the car industry now for 8 years, and yet you're still only 23.
Yes.
Would you be prepared to stay in the industry all your life as your father has?
Well, I'm prepared to stay in it if it keeps going. If it should go, I should be prepared to change my job and try something else.
What sort of ambition have you?
Well, I've got a car. I've had a car since I was 19. Now I'm saving up to get married, you know. And I'm going in for a house. I intend to get a house now.
28-year-old George Jr. is a boxer. George, how on earth do you manage to go boxing and training for boxing after a day doing a job as physically tiring as yours?
Well, you just get used to it. It's just like another day's training, really. I mean, you go out, you get on a bike, you ride up a hill, you're puffed out one day. Have a week at that and you get used to it. Same with boxing. You go out night training, you go once, you do about hours training one night. You build up to that, you can do it 5 nights a week. Then you just build up, you do 2 or 3 hours a night.
But don't you find you're fit enough with the day's work anyway?
No. I think anybody that says they've had enough when they've done a day's work are telling lies.
But yours is very physically hard work, isn't it?
Well, I don't think so. It's a bit hard when you first go into it, but you get used to it.
You get used to it, or do you? Many carmen would disagree with George Jordan Jr. They believe the bosses could do more to reduce fatigue and boredom. Bosses like Standard Triumph General Manager George Turnbull.
Well, to appreciate really what he does, of course, all the assembly techniques are well known these days to people such as myself. I think it's a little difficult to get a great deal of satisfaction out of this kind of work. We do naturally try as much as we can to take fatigue out of the operations and make sure that power tools are readily available and reduce lifting and make sure the operations are done at a proper height rather than having to go down and stretch up and this sort of thing. So I think from that point of view, we've done all that we can, but of course there is this question of monotony, and I don't honestly see how one can get over that apart from trying to interest the operator in the job he does and give him some pride in the product.
Well, the work of which I do is supervision on a line of which makes the conrod entirely from the raw material to the finished state before it's fitted into the engine. It's just the cutting of metals to very fine limits. It's interesting. At times it can be very pleasant work with the people that you work with.
Well, it's a long, rather tiring day. You know, it is a tiring day, but I say the company helps, the girls that you work with, you know, it makes the job easier and that sort of thing, but it takes quite a good bit of concentration. Well, it's interesting in a way, but of course, like most jobs, it can be boring at times, you know, you're looking at the same thing on a sort of day in, day out.
Like hard work, but you to keep going all the while.
Why are you in this type of work?
Because I enjoy it.
Do you get any feeling that in fact you are contributing to something?
Yes, I think that you realise that a lot more about cars when you work with the making of them.
Do you get what sort of satisfaction does it give you actually working?
Well, you're making something. You see a final product of what you're having part in.
Pretty hard work, you know, it's hard on the hands, you know, we have to do a lot of pulling. I cover the door casings, put the Rexines over the door casing, and it's quite a lot of pulling to it. There's quite a lot of work that women can do in it, you know, the lighter work.
Well, we have to put the carpets in and the seats, the rear swab, the gearbox cover, and the gearbox carpet.
How long have you got to do that in?
I think it's about 15 minutes. I'm not quite sure, to be truthful.
And about how many cars would you do a day?
We do 4 an hour.
What's it like? I noticed you're dragged along by the cars on the track. Is this hard work?
Well, when you first go onto the job, your ribs get quite sore, but you get a bit hardened up to it and then you're all right.
Sore ribs, endless din, bludgeoned by machines, many a car worker's at his wit's end to keep pace with the track. Does the money make it seem worthwhile?
They make enough money to get them along. Probably they haven't got enough foresight to go for something better.
Well, let's put it this way. When you have a family to support, a large family to support, as I have, then one has obviously got to go to where they can get the biggest penny. Money is not the most important thing in life, but if, when you speak of my sons, they can learn a trade to the extent that they can be happier in the work, then I should think that's a far better achievement than working in a place such as this.
Money. Money is the biggest disease in this country. Money is a disease.
One of our assembly workers here would be earning, I would think, for a normal week, something between 25 and 27 pounds a week, something like that. Most of them are earning well over 30, I would think, with the kind of overtime that we do at this time of the year.
In Coventry, 50,000 people work in the car industry, and most of them are in it for the money. So it's not surprising, perhaps, that their minds aren't always on the job. What, in fact, does a man think about to while away the working day?
Any mortal thing, such as tea break, waiting for that, or having a chat with your mates. It's a lovely feeling, you know, when you can get down off that track and have a chat to your mates for, say, 3 or 4 minutes.
I think, well, a lot of things I think about, but of course you've got to keep your mind on the job all the while for the simple reason there's a cylinder block coming off this machine 1 every 2 minutes. And you've got to be down that end checking 1 in 10 all the while, so you've not got really a lot of time to think.
The average man on the shop floor, he thinks about quite a lot of things. He very interestingly discuss politics, pool, the state of the company, the state of the cars we make, and various things besides the technical difficulties of which they come up against.
So far then, we've got a glimpse of the car maker at work. Sufficient of a glimpse, I'm sure you'll agree, to realise that in this job, all work and no play would indeed make Jack a dull boy. But today, at 11 o'clock on a very wet Coventry station, we are going to see the car maker at play. And logically enough, it all starts on the train.
To forget the boredom and fatigue of the assembly line, there's always football. And when Coventry City play away from home, the club run the Sky Blue Special, a weekend excursion away from the factory, complete with music and dancing, beer and bingo. It's an escape route and a good way to keep busy waiting for the Saturday game.
Number 7, 86, 86. 27, number 4, 34.
Boy, we're now, you go to work on a Monday morning, and the first thing they start replaying the game of what they played on the Saturday, and the topic of the Sky Blues, well, it's just fabulous. I mean, all they think about now is the Sky Blues. Monday morning at work, nothing but Sky Blue.
Thanks.
Well, mad, I should say so. I think it's getting as bad as Liverpool. Everybody talks about it. Everywhere you go. The shops, everywhere you go in the shops, everything's sky blue. See, it's only since Jimmy Hill came here, though. Before that, it was just nobody ever bothered.
Jimmy, how significant is the football club to the Coventry car worker?
I think it plays a big part in his or her life. I've never worked on an assembly line myself, but I've watched them, and I imagine that at the end of a day, you want something to lift you up, and at the end of a week, you want something exciting, something with a life in it, and a weekend away supporting the Coventry City Football Club, I think, gives them that lift. They enjoy themselves apart from watching the game. They feel very much part of the afternoon. They go out and enjoy themselves after the game. On a Monday morning, they come back refreshed.
36,
Because I enjoy my weekends. When Friday night comes, I'm as pleased as punch. I'll go home, have my tea, get washed, dressed, washed up. I do look all right when I am washed up, I can tell you that. I can go and have my pint. 4, 5, 6.
They come out, such as down the club here, and they mix with the friends and the families and that. They enjoy all the facilities that are available in the club. The majority have got cars now, they go out in the cars and that at weekends, what have you.
Cars and houses change hands in Coventry at high prices. With 1 in every 6 of the city's population in the motor business, it could hardly be otherwise. But, as every estate agent in Coventry knows, the cars man's interest in owning his own home is surprisingly strong, and one answer to those who so often accuse him of being a spendthrift.
Coventry has been a city that of mushroom growth, with the result that the population since 1939 has grown from something like 190,000 to 330,000. Many of the people coming in have not been eligible for council houses, and therefore a great number of those people who have come into the car trade, into the motor trade, have of necessity had to purchase their houses, their own houses.
The price groups vary between figures of 2,650 and 3,250. The majority of people who come here probably stay here for 8 to 10 years, and then as the family grows and the finances perhaps improve, they will move on to further outlying areas where the prices will probably be between £3,500 and £4,500.
Quite a number of the car workers realise that ownership is the best hedge against inflation.
Nobody seems to worry about inflation in the centre of Coventry on a Saturday morning. In the shops, it's the dearest things which sell best. Only a strike in a car factory brings out the bargain hunters.
Naturally, everyone in Coventry depends upon the car industry, and we do quite definitely. On a recent check we made, about 25% of our customers were directly employed in the car industry at different levels, and so obviously they're terribly important to us. I think they prefer to pay cash. We find it more difficult to have account customers in this store than in other stores we have in our organisation throughout the country. They do, of course, use hire purchase terms and so on, but not so much monthly accounts.
They're very drab in the things they wear during the week, so therefore at the weekends they like to spend their money on clothes. They like gay clothes. You know, other girls they can dress up during working days, you know, office girls, but they can't, so therefore they'll spend anything to look good for the weekend.
I think he has surprisingly good taste. Certainly good taste about his clothes as far as we're concerned from our experience. I don't think following mass fashion is so important to him as following, well, generally dressing fashionable.
We're often patronised by both people who are managing directors' wives in the car industry and also the shop floor workers who, of course, have exactly the same amount of money. As far as we're concerned, they have equality in the salon. Our prices range from as little as 5 and 6pence for just a trim, right up to 5 guineas for the full treatment. They do like us to keep them absolutely on top of fashion. We have to tell them exactly what is fashionable, and if it is suitable for them to wear, well, of course they have it immediately.
There are lots of new places being demanded by holidaymakers, including, of course, the people that we're talking about every year. But in the main, I would say that the sort of centres that have always been popular are still just as popular. Places like Mallorca, south of Spain, Costa Brava, Italian Riviera, Italian Adriatic and Yugoslavia, those sorts of places.
How much longer will the holiday mood go on? Few car workers save up for a rainy day, and their livelihood hangs on purchase tax and the credit squeeze. But they don't feel insecure.
Well, everybody's frightened of unemployment. You don't want it, but if it has to come, it has to come. There's nothing you can do about it.
Motor industry's dodgy, isn't it? Get quite a few strikes and what have you, so they always put some by.
Do you think saving is important?
I think it is to anybody with a family, really.
Well, I think you got a lot of security in the car industry. They pay good wages. I think personally myself that in the car industry, as regards security, the wages is what matters. The security is there. When you retire, there's a pension for you. My father-in-law just retired now, quite a nice pension. He's worked in the car industry all his life.
I mean, you spend £1, you save £1. And I mean, you've got a bit by if the work does go slack. And I mean, you haven't got to economise such a lot if you've got a bit behind you.
Any fear for the future comes down to the strikes, which are the curse of the car industry. Agitators find that they can easily disrupt delivery dates, and men who refuse to join an irresponsible walkout are victimised. Why do the car unions demand mass obedience from their members at the expense of the individual? Union Secretary Frank Chater.
Well, I think by and large this is essential. You see, unless you get this sort of disciplinary support from the membership themselves, then the whole of our democracy would be inclined to break down.
Well, I think the average car worker, he reads the papers. I think he understands the problems of the country, but also that he is influenced to a large degree, I think, by the environment, the people around him. And this, I'm sure, in the back of his mind, he does realize there's a real problem. I think the difficulty is to create the incentive for him to take this thing personally. And we try as much as we can to explain the problems of the company as well as the country in the broadest sense, in communication through the normal channels of shop stewards and this sort of thing. And we hope, well, we're pretty sure a lot of this really gets back to the men.
Somebody said to me the other day after we'd been having a sort of natter together in a group at dinner time before the bell went for people to start work again, I think this is a very good idea because you don't feel a cog anymore. What I think he meant was there'd been 10 minutes when we'd been able to get together and be human beings and talk about human things. What we were talking about was the way their work was organised and the things they thought about this and so on, but everybody was having a chance to be himself.
Fling wide the gates, it's Friday night, the weekend's here, the long-awaited weekend. For the 11,000 workers at this factory and thousands more like them at the mass of motor concerns here in Coventry. And the sad truth is that as automation increases, the machine is more and more going to take away the craftsmanship and the adventure out of the job. And the unions, as they mother the car workers more and more, are also taking away some of the individuality.